Hello, my fellow seekers. Welcome to Into the Work, therapy for empaths, seekers, and the intuitively driven, where you have front row seats to therapy sessions and expert interviews that will help you define the important work that you're here to do. So I guess you actually have something better than front row seats. You practically have a seat on my couch. That's right, you will have unrestricted access to actual sessions with real people, exploring real life issues. You will continue to be inspired by powerful conversations with experts and healers that might just share exactly what it is that you need to hear to get unstuck. I am Michelle Pauverman. I am a recovering people pleaser and former anxiety-driven empath, turned now mostly grounded psychotherapist and intuitive coach. I have been helping people for almost 20 years manage their limiting beliefs and anxiety to finally stop the self-sabotage and step into their gifts. I created this podcast, Into the Work, to give you a place to learn more about yourself and give you actionable strategies to finally move those roadblocks holding you back so you can go for what you want. Above all else, my hope is that this podcast is a catalyst for your awakening. If you're listening, you've already taken a step towards getting off of autopilot, and our next steps together will be taken episode by episode, waking you up to the possibilities, the new ways of thinking and being, so that you can stretch into that next level of your story. The spark has already been lit, and my friend, this is a journey from spark to brilliance. So together, let's light a fire. Hi there, welcome back to the show, Into the Work, therapy for empaths and seekers. Today, I want to address those of you that have big dreams, those of you that are ambitious and intuitive and driven. But lately, the go, go, go has felt more chaotic than creative. You're not lazy. You have what it takes. You're just burned out from trying to force something that isn't aligned. I want to use this episode to help those of you that want to succeed without scrambling and hustle with purpose, not panic. A good dose of aligned hustle puts a pep in my step, honestly, and it opens up my heart. When I have that energy that comes on, I actually love it. I'm not going to lie. It is part of my drive and part of how I create in this world, is to have that. I want to take the negativity out of the word hustle because there's something in that feels really exciting to me. Hustle isn't the enemy, but unconscious, reactive, and misaligned hustle is, okay? When sensitive, ambitious women, they push through from fear and urgency and external pressure, you've got a recipe for burnout. It's when we lead with alignment, with self-trust, with soulful intention, when we become powerful creators instead of being the pinballs in the machine of life, right? So I really want to look at some of the real reasons why you might be burning out right now. It might be not so much that you're doing too much. It's perhaps that you're doing too much of what isn't aligned, okay? Which is the thing that is taking from you versus giving to you. So we're going to break this down a little bit because this hustle becomes a scramble, becomes chaotic when it's driven by fear of falling behind, right? When it's driven by people pleasing, especially professionally, on the job or in your business, when you've got a lot of people pleasing going on, it burns us out. Our motivations aren't coming from the right place, right? Scarcity mindset. If I don't act now, I'll miss my shot. Or, if I don't do this now, I'll never be able to complete this. Or it's just simple that I'm never going to be enough until I prove to everybody that I can do this, right? That's scarcity mindset. External validation over internal guidance is something else I want you to consider. Are you looking for external validation, or are you creating the space to receive internal guidance? And we're going to talk about that because I know space can feel like there's never enough, right? There's never enough time and space, and it can really feel like that scarcity mindset is taking over and that there's real truth to it. Now, I want you to be aware as well as we talk today about your own motivation. Okay. I want you to become more and more increasingly aware of what is motivating me. Do you have a motivation to prove yourself? Do you have a motivation that comes from a running away from something, right? It's sort of this against energy. Like I'm running away from failure, from disapproval, disappointment. I'm running away from my own perfectionism, even might be driving this whole way that you're motivated. It's a very different feeling to be running away from something and running towards something. And if your energy that you're holding is that you are constantly feeling like you're trying to work against something, or that you are constantly in this place where you're trying to prove yourself and it just keeps falling apart, or it's just you're getting by the hair of your, whatever, then I want you to recognize your motivation and see how you can switch into being for something, that this thing that you're putting in front of you, that you're attaching your energy to, is something you're for. And so we'll get into that. But what it feels like to hustle from chaos, let's talk about that. Because I want you to recognize that it's happening in your life. And if you don't know what it feels like, you're on such an autopilot state. I mean, so many people are. I mean, so many of us are, that you're more likely to kind of glaze past this and just really not do anything different. So I want you to notice what it feels like for you to be burnt out. I want you to know what it feels like for you to be a pinball in a machine. When we're reactive to everything that's coming up and we feel tossed around by circumstances. So when you feel like a pinball in a machine, I use that analogy. It's like stuff is just dropping in your path and pushing you a different direction. And then something else is dropping in your path and pushing you in another direction. Or maybe you feel like if you're into this chaotic feeling with the hustle, you might be feeling like you're constantly putting out fires instead of intentionally creating, right? And that's part of the pinball in the machine, is like, I'm constantly putting out fires and I'm constantly, spending my time and energy on things that aren't even what I really want to do. And do you even know what you really want to do? And so really understanding the difference between that chaotic energy and the more grounded energy of intentionally creating. Because you'll see a theme here, and that is one of powerlessness versus power, right? That powerlessness is being the pinball in the machine. Powerlessness is being reactive to everything that drops in your lap and putting out fires left and right instead of intentionally creating. Intentionally creating is personal power. So every decision, when you're in that hustle from chaos, every decision can feel like a high stakes urgency, overwhelming. It can feel like there's a lot of angst in it. And I want you just to watch for that. Do you notice that about yourself when you're trying to make things happen? Is there a lot of urgency, a lot of overwhelm? And you're probably feeling exhausted, and yet you're still looping on whether or not you've done enough. It's like this crazy thing, right? Everything in your body is telling you, I've done enough. I can't do anymore. I need you to slow down. I need you to go within. I need you to check in with me. And we still ignore those flags and push through and ultimately still feel like we've never done enough. So then in comparison to that, I want you to consider what the aligned hustle looks like, right? I want you to consider that it is based in strategy. It is a bit strategic. It can be much more spacious, and it can certainly be more soulful. It's driven by your values, not your anxiety. It's driven by something deep within that feels right and in alignment with you and what you really want for yourself, and not your anxiety. You initiate this project, let's say, or something, all these things that you're hustling, you initiate from clarity instead of reacting from fear. So they're very different things. Again, one is very much grounded in personal power. I make the choice to initiate from a place of clarity instead of reacting from fear. This speaks to me, and I think it'll speak to you. I think when we initiate from clarity, we initiate from a very grounded place. When we are in a place where we are reacting from fear, we do things that are impulsive. For instance, I have found myself knee deep in work only to think about something else that I shoulda, coulda, woulda done, right? And I start doing it. I don't slow down and say, does this really fit in? Does this really make sense? I'm down a rabbit hole. I'm creating a new project before I've finished the other projects, right? It can be very reactive, impulsive. It can have this anxious driven, I've not done enough. I need to do all the things. And so I just want you to watch out for that. That in itself is gold to figure out that if you're doing that, because then you can start the check system, which we'll talk about here. But I want you to notice that you are able to do this when you are in the power of aligned hustle, when you are in this place where you're like, I'm doing this, I'm on fire, this is like amazing. And you know what? I'm not even telling you that it's not hard. We can do hard things, right? That's the message. We can do hard things. I'm stepping up to the plate. I'm stretching myself. I'm doing more than I typically do. Yes, there's parts of it that are hard, but man, is it feeding my soul. I feel good about this. That's different for your nervous system versus the anxiety, fear, and reactivity. So I want to say to you that if you want to align yourself and throw yourself into something that feels like a hustle, that feels amazing, though, that you'll be so excited about when you're done, if it really feeds where you're going, what you want for yourself, right? It feeds your purpose. You don't have to abandon your nervous system in the process. A lot of us don't realize that. A lot of us throw our nervous system to the wind and we throw ourselves into things, crossing our fingers, really hoping we do the best we can do and that no one's disappointed in us. But here's the thing. You can slow it down and still produce as much. You can check in with yourself and still produce as much. In fact, one of the major lessons I've had to learn in order to do this aligned hustle thing is that I've really needed to lean into asking myself questions. I needed to also detach from my belief that being stressed out and overwhelmed was connected to me feeling like I'm enough and I've done enough. Because I had the connection and the belief, that programming, that being stressed out and overwhelmed, letting everybody know that, allowed me to make sure that everybody knew that I was doing enough, that I was being enough, I was creating enough. And that was horrible for my nervous system, right? That's horrible. But I would do it because it allowed me to feel like I was proving to the world that I was being enough. And I did this since I was a very young kid. And so even getting into my master's degree, and I really started learning the concept and rewiring that old belief that I am enough as I am, and that I don't need to be stressed out, overwhelmed, etc., to get the thing done and to do it well. I actually really had a belief in there that I have to be stressed out in order to get it done. I almost feel like it comes also from that perfectionism / procrastination, that if I build up enough fire and make myself crazy, if I make myself overwhelmed and stressed out, then I will get it done. I will do the work. And so there's that secondary attachment there, that I have to do these things in order to actually get myself to show up. And I had to really learn that I can trust myself to show up without being stressed. I can trust myself to show up without being overwhelmed. And it was really a very important pivot in my life. And I would like to share that and hope, if this resonates with you, that you can see that you can do the same. And so an aligned hustle asks you, I'm going to give you 3 questions for you to ask yourself. Before you jump in, right, to a new project, to a thing, to whatever is in front of you, I want you to ask yourself, is this action connected to my bigger vision? Is this action connected to my bigger vision, or am I going to go down a rabbit hole that's not going to actually give back to me? It's just going to take. It's really important that we stay in the checks and balances, that we are in the balance of giving and receiving always with our energy, including with our projects, with work, with whatever we're doing that is the hustle. It even can be with parenting. It can be with whatever we look at as being aligned in this hustle. And so I want you to look at connecting to that bigger vision. Is this the right time, or am I rushing out of fear? This one's huge for me. Is this the right time, or am I rushing out of fear? 9 times out of 10, most of my life, I was rushing out of fear. As soon as something dropped in front of me, I had a huge amount of urgency to get it done, especially if there were stakes, like other people involved, disappointing other people, or whatever. So I really want to teach you to slow down, trust that you can slow down and be as productive, and still check in. Is this the right time for this? And I want to also urge you to keep a notebook of ideas, okay? I have a notebook of ideas. I don't always go to it to pull out the ideas. That's something I do every once in a while, but I have a place where I can put it down, because here's the deal. Part of the reason why we jump on things is because we feel like if we don't now, we'll forget about it. Well, we can't trust ourselves to follow through when it is the right time. And so we kind of get into this place where I should. So I want you to just take that thing that doesn't feel like it's the right time, and I want you to put it down somewhere where you can go back and be like, oh my God, remember this? That was so... And you know what? I bet you when you just happen to open up your notebook on this, this happened day, that'll be like the magical timing, and you'll receive it intuitively like, oh my God, I'm reading this today because this is the right thing for me to do now. And so I want you to believe in that serendipitous possibility and that you can be and flow. You don't have to be rushing out of the gates with fear. And third question I want you to ask yourself is, am I choosing this, or am I avoiding discomfort by overdoing? Am I choosing this? That is really big. Or am I doing this because I have to, or I should? All those things that are guilt-ridden, all those things that are steeped in, I'm doing the overdoing thing because my limiting beliefs tell me that I have to. Maybe I'm avoiding some kind of discomfort, where I then therefore do this thing because I have to, not because I choose to. So again, standing in your power, having personal power is something that we are working deeply on in the Modern Empaths Boundary Mastery Program. We are really standing deep in it right now, where we are looking at our personal power. And it is honestly shaking everybody up, because so many of us are not aware of how much we give away our power, how often we step into either victimhood or helplessness or hopelessness or powerlessness, or not realizing that we have our own ways of even compulsively acting towards things like I have to or I should, and that are really, truly steeped in powerlessness, right? So I want you to really look at how to stop outsourcing your pace of life, right? Other people don't dictate that. I mean, sure, if you have a job and you have a boss and there are certain paces to be, but there are ways for you to show up in it to create the pace of life that you want. Because so much of the struggle that us humans experience are not really about the thing in front of us. Most of the time, the things we struggle with are what we create between us and the thing in front of us, right? And that's what I'm talking about when I mentioned that I used to use stress as like a badge of honor. I used to use stress and overwhelm as a way to motivate me. I really created a lot of pain around doing, around expectations, around, creating and any part of the hustle. I would create pain. We get to stop outsourcing these things. We don't have to outsource priorities. We get to make our own priorities. Someone might say, this is my priority, go do it at work. But you have the ability to say, well, wait a minute, let's look at what the priority here for me is. Like, what is this about for me? How do I want to show up in this? What are ways in which I can meet my priorities and who I work for priorities, or what I'm doing in my business priorities? And we don't have to outsource our power. We're not looking for other people to let us know how much power we have or don't have, right? We're learning to step into our personal power. And that is everything right now for you. And being the initiator versus the reactor is a really great way for you to step into your power. You're going to sit back, quietly decide, choose, initiate the process versus be reactive and have an entire reactive response to the stuff that comes up in your business, your life, your hustle, right? Whether that be, again, it's not just work. It could also be your parenting hustle. It can be how you're choosing to, what you're choosing to spend your days, how you want to do it, the way you want to do it. But when you're grounded in your own truth, that urgency that causes that reactivity, it loses its grip. When you know more about who you are, what you want, when you can step into yourself and your personal power to own it, to take radical responsibility of your life, radical responsibility for your choices, and stand in it with no apologies, that is when it is like an incredible shift starts to happen and you can start getting stuff done. So here's a mindset shift for you. Just because something is available doesn't mean it's aligned. Sometimes as intuitive beings, we're like, oh, this thing just became available, so it must be for me. I want you to lean in a little deeper. I want you to look at it and say, okay, something is available, but it doesn't mean that it's aligned. So let me ask the question. And we go back to the first question, right? Is this action connected to my bigger vision? Is it something I want for myself? Is this the right time, or am I rushing out of fear? Am I choosing this, or I want this, I choose this, or am I avoiding discomfort by overdoing or overgiving or overaccommodating or all the overs, right? So I want you to look at it's possible for you to do that. And you can choose to give your resources. You can choose to give your attention. And you can do it from a powerful place. But I want you to just make sure you're asking yourself that question. And you can also shift your mindset with when I lead with power, I create peace. So peace is possible with productivity. Peace is possible with productivity when I lead with power, when I initiate, when I choose, when I take responsibility, when I refuse to create chaos and struggle and pain around the thing that I choose. And also remember that every no that you give to chaos is a yes to your clarity. And I do believe that every time you say no to chaos, you're sending a message to the universe to say, I don't do that anymore. Stop sending them to me, right? When you say no to chaos, you are getting a chance to say yes to your clarity. It almost is like a space opens up and we start to just feel a little bit, our nervous system feels a little bit at ease. And then we can allow ourselves to think, what is right for me? If that's not right, what is right for me? So let's talk about how you can begin to hustle smarter. How can you begin to decide, I want to throw my energy at stuff that excites me. I want to feel the importance of what I'm doing. I want to feel purposeful and intentional versus I'm a pinball in a machine. So first of all, I have to say that starting your day with something that is some form of internal alignment before you jump into all the external noise, I want you to consider, I don't care how much time you spend in it. I want you to consider before you pick up your phone and start scrolling in the morning, okay? I want you to consider, I'm going to spend 10 minutes meditating. I am going to simply journal for 10 minutes and write down what my intention is today. Setting intentions is huge because it informs your nervous system, your body, your mind, your heart. It informs you on what your true desire is, and it helps you connect with your why. It helps you connect with who you are, what you want. And when we don't know what we want and we're not connected to what we want, it's very possible for a lot of us empaths and sensitive types to start ping-ponging off of everybody else. And we can feel all their emotions. We can feel the pressure. We can feel the needs, that are not met around us. And so we can feel that we're taking on everybody else's energy. And it's so important for you to start your day in your own energy. I also recommend the squeegee method that I have as a free gift to you. I have put it in the show notes in this episode, as well as the last few or the last couple. That is something that also is huge. It's such a game changer to learn how to manage your energy, right? And I think it's a 15-minute quick, easy meditation, but it's a clearing activation. It's sort of a method that you learn to do on your own. Now, using the 3-check filter before committing. Okay, let's talk about that. You've started your day. You've spent 10 minutes, kind of breathing, writing down what is my intention for the day? What is it that I want? How do I want to show up today? How do I want to be there for myself today? And then you're using the 3-check filter. Okay. Is it aligned with my purpose? Do I actually have the capacity? And will this decision nourish me long-term? Right? A different way of rewording these questions, but they're basically the same in asking yourself, is this aligned with my purpose? Does this make sense for me? Do I actually have the capacity for this? Now, a lot of us who are impulsive, have some impulsivity, we skip this step. We don't ask ourselves if I have the capacity. A lot of us don't even have the wiring to do that without really being intentional. So I want to really ask you to slow yourself down as soon as you notice that you are asking something of yourself or somebody is asking something of you. And will this decision nourish me long term? It's really important for you to think, does this make sense? Is this connected to my bigger vision? Is this what I really want for myself? Is this the right time? And so I want you to take a look at, does this nourish me long term? Because if you are setting your intentions of how you're showing up and you're choosing and saying yes to things that really fill your soul, then that starts adding up. And that starts becoming an amazing soulful goal where you are kicking ass and you are coming at it from the right direction. It's filling you up. It's not just depleting the F out of you and making you all burnt out. I also want to suggest you schedule guilt-free white space on your calendar. Like just small batches. If you don't have a lot of time and you're somebody who's like, I squeeze in every minute, Michelle, and maybe you're somebody who's really good with a calendar, with you're really good with a planner and you are backed up minute to minute, I want you to schedule in white space. If you're not that person and you kind of more haphazard with your time, I still want you to schedule in white space. It might change the time frame based on how you're doing during the day, but I want you to put it in your brain that it's safe for me to take a minute. It's safe for me to get my needs met, even when I'm hustling. It's really important that you know that it's safe for you to get your needs met. And just honestly, last, I just want to say, make slowing down a habit, not a reward. It's not just a reward. It's a innate life force energy process that you need in place so that you can be in your core, right? You can be in touch with your wants, needs, desires. You can be in touch with what's right for me, what's not good for me. You can be in touch with all these things that are really important information and guidance for how you are to move ahead. But if you don't slow down, then you're not accessing this very basic GPS system to move forward in your life, which is crucial to ending up in the right place, in the way that you want to. There's all these other things that you probably know to do already. So I don't want to repeat them all to you because you probably know that if you're a nature person, maybe that white space is you going for a walk outside. If you're a meditator, you know what it is that you need. At this point of your life, you probably know these things help me. They feel good. If you don't know, then find out, because you do need to know what it is that feeds me, puts me back into balance. exercise for many people is so crucial to your brain function, to your physical, emotional, and mental well-being. And I must say that one of the most important things that you can do is, because all of this is about everything we've talked about here relies on your boundaries. You need to have the boundaries to create the white space. You need to have the boundaries with yourself to make that happen. You need to have the boundaries to slow down and ask yourself if this is aligned with your purpose. You need to have the boundaries with other people. When you get to say no to chaos and yes to clarity, you have to be able to say no to chaos, and you need boundaries for that. Working on your boundaries will change your life. It can change everything. And so it's really important that you recognize, where are you getting a little bit stuck here when you look at, I want to have an aligned hustle. I want to feel like I'm on fire. And hey, guess what? Sometimes you might get a little burnt out. Even when you've been in alignment, you might get a little toasty because you're stretching and going beyond. And your ego is like, yeah, your soul likes this, but your ego is like, no, thank you. We've done enough today and this week, this month. And it might be making you feel like you are just exhausted. And so I want you to nourish yourself. I want you to nurture yourself. I want you to recognize that. I want you to deeply do the things that bring you back into alignment. And then ask yourself, what's my next move? And slowly learn how to listen. What is my next move? Listen, you'll find out. If you slow down and go into yourself, you'll find out. And you don't have to hustle like everyone else to succeed. You don't. You don't have to exhaust yourself to earn rest. That's just wrong. And you are allowed to build something big without betraying your nervous system. When you lead with alignment, your life stops being a reactive, scramble, chaotic experience, and it starts becoming a soul-led creation. And that, my friend, is what I want for you. So I hope this was inspiring in some way, and don't forget about your free gift, because people-pleasing can be such a huge part of this. I want to remind you that you have the People-Pleasing Recovery Kit. This does include the squeegee method meditation in there that I talked about. It has a people-pleasing detox checklist just to kind of get you clear on if you have a problem with people-pleasing, and a worksheet to help you look at boundaries and also to start to shift any ancestral ties even that you might have to people-pleasing, because one of the best things you can do for yourself is really healing parts of that so you can really get into alignment and stop using your external world, the people in it, to define what's right for you. So thank you again. Have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you next week. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to Into the Work Therapy for Empaths and Seekers. Don't forget to grab your free gift, your Shadow Work Transformation Bundle, at michellepoverman.com. I've included everything you need to get started to break through the patterns of self-sabotage and finally start to heal the parts of yourself that are getting in the way of truly reaching your potential. From a powerful meditation designed to help you meet and embrace your shadow self, to the guide that's full of curated prompts and important questions to support you on this journey. This really can be the work for you to unmask the root cause of all the issues you've been experiencing, honestly, and start to feel free to believe in yourself and go for what you want. The link for this free bundle is in the show notes. And if you like this episode, I would be so grateful if you could take a moment and rate, click and follow, and leave a review. Of course, you can always follow me on socials at Michelle Poverman. And keep in mind, as you embark on your journey from spark to brilliance, remember, the universe is always conspiring in favor of your awakening. Everything that's happening is in support of you lighting your own fire within. So until we meet again, may your path be well lit and your heart be guided. Shine bright, seekers. Until next time.